everybody, Bonehead from the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Top 5 Friday. On a Friday, we get together and we have a look at the top 5, something normally to do with Blood Bowl. This one isn't about Blood Bowl, but if you do like Blood Bowl, I've got to assume you like games and you like miniatures. And what we're going to be looking at now is my top 5 games that are coming out the rest of this year that I'm excited for. So the last few weeks, we've looked at stuff like Warhammer Quest, we've looked at the OG boxes from Games Workshop, and I think I figured out what I'm clamoring for, why that Warhammer Quest sent me on a bit of a spiral. It's that Christmas morning starter box vibe. That is what I'm clamoring for in my life. And a lot of you put some great comments in the Warhammer Quest video and stuff like that, saying, what about other companies? What about these other games that they're coming out with? And you know what? I took a minute and I thought, what am I excited about the rest of this year in wargaming that's not Games Workshop? And I came up with a top 5 list very easily. So I'm going to delve into my top 5 games coming out this year that I cannot wait to play. Number 5. So this is not a Blood Bowl list. Obviously, if Blood Bowl comes out, it will be number 0 on this list because it will supersede everything. However, there are other sports games available. Well, maybe not available at the moment, but coming back soon. So you guys will know that I love Mantic games, and they make a game called Dreadball, and it's, I think, out of print at the moment. You can still get it on Amazon, but they've got a Kickstarter coming up later this year. Ronnie previewed it in his video earlier this year, and we'll show you the Kickstarter page in a minute. It's like the All-Stars version, and I'm hoping it's going to bring up a full-on box with a starter set so we can get a cool new different game so that we can just play it through, just play a game, get that starter box experience. So Dreadball is a sci-fi version of Blood Bowl. It's got hex squares, it's got sci-fi space marines playing not Blood Bowl. And you know what, when it first came out, I think I missed it. Like I didn't really pay much attention to it. They've got the second edition out and about now, but it is out of stock on their website, so got to assume that the thing that they've alluded to, the Kickstarter they've got coming out, is going to be a new edition, or at least I'm hoping a new way to get into the game. So they've got these hex pitches. I think we've got a little picture here. This is I think the second edition starter box, and they've got this big old hex pitch. You've got 2 teams. You've got what looks like, I don't know, referees or something, which is actually quite a cool idea. I mean, to be fair, the 2020 box came, the 2020 Blood Bowl box came with 2 referees, so this makes a lot of sense. And look, Mantic do such a good job of coming up with just very playable games. Like Kings of War, absolutely stonking game. Armada, really good fun. And just a spoiler, there might be another Mantic game coming up later in the list. Now, there's 2 things about Dreadball that I think put me off the first time round, and the second time round. It's sci-fi sports game. It just reminds me of like the intro to Starship Troopers. And also it's hex based, but actually as I've grown up, I've realized that it doesn't really matter. If this game drops, and this is the Kickstarter here, oh no, this is actually their shop. So they've got a couple of things available on the shop, including the second edition rules. The fact they don't have a second edition starter box means that this game is, for all intents and purposes, I think, dead. And that is a barrier to me picking it up right now. But I think that's part of why I'm excited about every one of these games on this list, is that it's a refresh, right? If they bring out Dreadball version 3 as part of this Kickstarter, the Dreadball All-Stars Kickstarter, which I'm hoping is just going to be, I mean, they've said there, enter the arena, legendary players take to the pitch in brutal stadium matches. The fact that they don't have a starter set for it and they're doing a Kickstarter for it means that, oh man, means it's not going to be out this year. They might be out this year. I don't know. They're pretty quick at their Kickstarters. It means that they're going to have a bit of a refresh. It's going to be a new edition. You're going to have the box, you're going to have the board, you're going to have the dice, you're going to have everything to complete that Christmas morning test. That I've got a game, and now I'm going to open the box, and I've got everything I need to just open it up, put it together, and play a game and play through the stuff. I think that's what I'm clamoring for here, and this is a sports game that's coming out, and I cannot wait to try it. Number 4. So there are a couple of games kicking around here that I've looked at from afar and thought, oh, that's pretty cool. I've never really got the opportunity to play much with it or to really look into the world very much. Now this one has got stompy robots and big old monsters, and I'm on board with that. It is a small scale game. It is 10 mil and it is coming out this month actually. Well, the pre-order is going out this month. No, you can buy it and it's coming out at the end of this month. So this is Drop Zone Commander Operation Artemis. Now this is a smaller box. I mean, £65 when you come from a Games Workshop, maybe that's a small starter set, but actually I don't know why I've zoomed in. They've actually got a good website. I'm not used to this. Look at this. I can click this button and the image will zoom in. Look at that. I can move it around. Fancy. Well done, TT Combat. So Drop Zone Operation Artemis is set in the world of Drop Zone Commander, which is set in the world of Drop Fleet Commander. So TT Combat, I don't think they're always the people who made this. Maybe they, I think maybe Drop Zone was its own thing and then it became part of TT Combat. But it is a, well, tell you what, Drop Zone Commander is a spaceship game that takes place just over the orbit of a planet. And we can actually have a look here at Drop Fleet Commander. They got some very, very, very nice miniatures. And this is why it's always kind of hovered over my mind as being something I'm like, wow, that could be fun to get into, because you kind of got, it definitely smacks of the Battlefleet Gothic start, right? It's not Battlefleet Gothic in a whole bunch of ways, but you've got that 2-player box set where it's full of spaceships. You've got one that's obviously the good guys because the other one is red. Okay, the red guys are the bad guys unless you're Blood Angels. Although they're not really the good guys, are they? I mean, look at those spaceships. That is very, very, very cool. So the Drop Zone Commander world was fleshed out with a game called Drop Fleet Commander. Drop Zone Commander? I don't know. Drop Fleet Commander? I don't know. So Drop Zone Commander is the ground game version. Did this one come first or second? I think this one came second. And this is a 10 mil sci-fi game. And I really do love my small scale games. There's just something about it, and it is absolutely positively Games Workshop's fault. Like, as I get older, I'm like, oh, I like the small scale stuff, and everyone kind of looks at you like, oh, you play Napoleonics, do you? There's nothing wrong with Napoleonics, but I'm not there yet. This is because of Epic. This is because of Games Workshop, Epic, Space Marine, Armageddon, and War Master. There is just something magnificent about it. I think it's the terrain. Like, you get all these cool spaceships and stuff, which is absolutely fantastic, but you get these big battles happening on these big terrainscapes, and you get a whole bunch of tanks, and I do like tanks. So the small scale stuff I find really interesting. But the idea of playing a full-scale, small-scale battle game from scratch, the game's got to be real something, or the cost to entry has got to be really, really, really low. That is actually really, really, really low. What the heck? Oh no. All right, I'm going to skip that before I get into trouble. So this is a mini game basically set in the world of the battles happening on the ground with the spaceships above. There's no spaceships, but there is this kind of mecha versus kaiju mini game they've dropped called Operation Artemis. And I think as a unique standalone game and a great excuse to get a few models in a box set that is its own thing, that you can then try out those models, you can then paint up those models, you can then give it a go, and it comes with a really wicked terrain set. Like, that is, for a single box, this has got the kind of, you pop it out and you are ready to go. Like, I think about this, about like how we play games on the channel and stuff, and I'm like, this is a perfect game for us to just build up in a few days, because we got a battle map, we got some buildings, and you just chuck it in the place of a Blood Bowl pitch, and we could have a lot of fun playing this and showing it off and trying it out. And that, I think, is the key for me, is that you've got this starter into an already established world that is low cost, low commitment from a miniature point of view, and you can try it out, and it looks really, really, really cool. So Operation Artemis is coming out later this month, and I am going to be hard pressed not to try and find a way to fit that in my calendar, because I'm really, really, really excited. I mean, big stompy robots, big gnarly monsters, and a really cool epic set of terrain. That's the trifecta. Number 3, and talking about small scale stuff and epic terrain and all kinds of battly goodness. Ooh, probably should mute that before we zip over to this. We have got a game coming out and the Kickstarter has already gone live. It is already at the point where they are starting to see some of the final miniatures. And this is Epic Warpath. Now this is a game from Mantic set in their own sci-fi world. And there is so much to love about that. I am a big fan of what Mantic does. And OPR, where they are building their own universes. And the cool thing here about like Mantic is they've got a really great universe that's been around now, I don't know, like a decade or more. They've got some established races, they've got some stuff. And you can go and you can play in, I think, Dead Zone and Warpath, and they're kind of like 32mm games. But they have keyed into a market here. Now it's quite funny because they say this game was in development before Legions Imperialis came out. But look, it is small scale sci-fi wargaming. And look at it, it looks so retro that they have keyed into everything we've been talking about the last few weeks. All of the 90s vibes here. And I just absolutely love this. So me, Craig and Rick went in hard on the Kickstarter here. And they are at the point now where they are almost starting to kind of fulfill where we're in June. So actually there's probably not too much longer before we actually get this. Now we went in big and we got all of the STLs so that we can actually, like, they've done a really clever job here. If I zoom in a bit, not only have they crushed it with some really good small scale versions of their full scale models. That's why I love the small scale stuff. This is why I desperately want OPR to do small scale stuff, is because these guys here, the Mantic guys, they've got a great universe with some really cool vehicles and some really cool big units. And I don't know, like, I want to run 5 of their big monsters, 5 of these big tanks, and just set that epic battle up. So the word epic is going to be used a lot, I think, for this game. Not just in the scale, not just in the name, but the idea is you build this big terrain, these big hills, these big war games, and look at all the vehicles and absolute nonsense. It's just absolutely outrageous. Now there's a couple of custom dice in there, but I'm sure it'll be fine. But they've got some absolutely brilliant monsters, and I'm scrolling down because they've got some great little factions. You've got some zombie aliens, you've got some kind of robot Eldar aliens, you've got the plague, which are like zombies, you've got space dwarves. Like, these guys brought space dwarves back before Games Workshop brought space dwarves back, and you got to give them props to that. But we went in and we got the STL back. So they do these plastic boxes, your forces, which are your core warriors, and then they do reinforcements, which are all these special units. And we went in on the level of full STL backing, which means we get the STLs for every unit that is not in plastic. So if we like the game, we can print and run some outrageous lists with loads of vehicles and big stompy monsters and super heavies and stuff like that. But this is it for me. I went in and I picked up the Space Skaven because space rats are just so cool. So I got that plastic set coming, all the STLs. Craig, I don't know what Craig went for. Rick went for a few factions, including Space Dwarves. I think he went Space Dwarves and the not Space Marine guys. But I mean, I want to see these models in small scale, and it is just so you can run extra and multiple of them, because it's just such a cool idea. Now, they've shown a few things off about how the game's going to play, and you know what? It looks pretty good. There's no multiple opposed rolling, so it's not going to be quite as miserable as Legions Imperialis. But, I mean, look at that. Look at that. Tell me that doesn't look like something straight out of a White Dwarf from 1996. And man, I am old because I'm at the point of my life where I'm looking back and going, hello, nostalgia. I'd love that. Because look at that. Absolutely fantastic. So for me, number 3, Epic Warpath from Mantic. Number 2. So this is something that I have flirted with and loved the idea of for a really long time, but I've delved into it a couple of times and nothing much has come around. But I'm a big fan of naval combat, and Dystopian Wars is dropping their 4th edition very, very soon in the summer. Now, I've got a bunch of Dystopian Wars ships just kind of sitting in boxes from that I've collected over the years, so I've busting them out and trying to see if I can paint them well and how to make it look. But let's get rid of my face. Dystopian Wars version 4 is coming end of summer. Now, Dystopian Wars is it's a naval combat game set in a, it's not steampunk. It's not, I guess it's more steampunk than anything else. The idea here is that it is kind of like, I don't know when it is, Victorian era, but technology has just got out of hand, and now you've got like flying battleships and submarines and mech dudes. It's just absolutely wildly unnecessary, and it's so charming because of it. Let's have a look and see if we can actually get some good pictures of the game here. So you've got a whole bunch of these little ships. Ooh, hello Wayland Games site. Let's come back off that. And just the cinematics of naval games, it's just really fun. Now, I think when we talked about our top 5 like games workshops bring back, you've got Battletech Gothic and you've got Man of War on there, right? And this kind of flirts with both of those things, because you've got little flyers, you've got the big spaceships, and I've got to say, the games that Warcradle are coming out with, if you look at Armored Clash, which is the Dystopian Wars but in 10mm, it looks great. The game looks like a lot of fun. But for Dystopian Wars, they've got more factions than I, from a cursory look, can figure out what's going on. They've got a lot of ships out there, and at the moment I'm like, I don't really want to buy anything because they're about to come out with a new edition. But therein lies the absolute beautiful charm of this, is that they have got version 4 coming out, and it is a reset. They've got some great new rules, and it's just a great chance for somebody to get into the game at the ground floor. And this is what we see across the kind of gaming space. Blood Bowl's been beautifully able to protect itself from it, but you want to start jumping into a miniatures game and the game has been around for a few years, there's probably stuff you need to know, there's factions that need to operate, there's stuff you don't want to buy because it doesn't work or whatever like that. The idea of jumping in at a new edition, it's new, it's uncharted territory, and it's kind of a safe space, which is a really silly thing to say now I've said it out loud, but that's exactly how I feel about it. Like, you're jumping into an edition and you're not going to get ruffle stumped. You might get ruffle stumped, but you're going to have to figure it out as it goes. So the idea of jumping in when there's a new starter set, a new rulebook coming out, yes, you've got the initial hype of everyone else exploring the game too and being excited about it, and you can't really beat that. But also, you don't have 6 years of releases to kind of figure out what works. Now, the thing here with Dystopian Wars is they said they're going to keep all of the boats in the game, but it's going to be a much lower threshold to entry, I think. And just, I don't know, the cinematic idea of this, it makes me really happy. And also, you get to paint with some inks and just do some very different modeling. In fact, if I make my face go away, you can see they've got some brilliant blogs, and this is really, absolutely really helping sell me on it. Is on the Warcradle site, they've got these blogs where they talk about different elements of the game. So what's going to happen, they've got a little deck of cards that comes in and special stuff happens, and they've got morale, you've got the fancy dice. Come on, where's pictures of the models on the board playing the games? They've got loads of artwork and they don't actually have any pictures of the models on the game board. Oh, come on, guys. Come on. You sell models. You sell models. No. All right. Well, that's disappointing. So I love the idea of the fleets, and I love the idea of like floating around through, you know, island assaults or cool frozen glaciers and stuff like that. I mean, I've been listening to Lovecraft recently, and like obviously everything in Lovecraft just seems to take place in sweaty museums or at the Arctic or Antarctic, whichever one has got stuff on. Whichever one, wherever Cthulhu is, that's where the Cthulhu books tend to take place. And I love that setting. I love that this is a Victorian era setting. I love that they've got a little network of games. I love that they've got a great model range out there already. And I love that I'm going to be able to jump in at a brand new edition and explore the rules and just enjoy that starting point for a game. But that brings about number one for me. And as we talk about joining a game that's having a refresh and has got a starting point of a game, Battletech is a game that's been around for 40 plus, maybe 50, no, 25th, okay, 25, 30 years, something like that. It's been a long time. Is it the 40th edition? I don't know, 40, 50 years, but they're coming out with Battletech Gothic. And the reason this is number one on the list is because just what I said about, I think, every game on this list. You've got big stompy robots. Now, the difference here with Battletech is that even though they've got the Alpha Strike rules, you don't need terrain, because the idea of Battletech is you've got your Battletech models and then you've got a hex board that shows you the rules of the game. Like when we talked about the games that are the most replayable, Battletech is super, super, super up there. But the fact where it's been around forever and it's just really entrenched, it's not a barrier to entry if you've got other people on board. But when there's new releases, when there's a reset like this, where they've gone and kind of created a spin-off series and a different version of their main universe, you get the chance to get it on the ground floor, and you don't have all of the lore, like all of the 40 years worth of lore and books and genocides and stuff to pick up. This is new genocides, and actually that makes it, for people like me who didn't jump in Battletech, I mean, I've played some stuff, played some MechWarrior, but I never really fell into the whole vibe of it. This is a very, very, very clever thing to do for these guys, because, all right, Ninjon, chill your beans. Let's go back. Let's come out of that. There we go. Battletech Gothic. So, I mean, first, when it was spoiled, we thought they were going after the 40k market. It's not actually demons and stuff. It's kind of mutants and gene splicing and kaiju. And you know, that's really not so bad. They are clearly going after the 40k crowd. They're clearly going after the Trench Crusade crowd. But do you know what they're really going after, or who they're going to really hit? It's people like me who want to pick up a box, who want to get an expansion every few months with some extra things, some extra ways to play, and just, I mean, this is the box set, right? You get 8 mechs. They're gribbly, they've got spikes on, they'll be fun to paint off. They're not over the top models, they're small scale, but it's going to be fun to paint them up because it's not going to take very long. And then you've got the maps and you've got the rules and all the playability. And I just think this is such a great way to get people into the Battletech world, because this is a point where they've got no knowledge hangover. You start playing Battletech Gothic because you played other games that, you know, quite frankly, looked better. And then you learn to love the rules and the gameplay. Like, imagine this. Imagine that we had a Blood Bowl 7's 40k version. People would come in and play it because they love all the spikes and the death. And then they'd go, this is a great game. How can I play more of this game? And then they'd come over to standard Blood Bowl because they're like, oh, more game. I'm here for the game now because I tried it for the spikes and I stayed for the game. Well, this is what Battletech Gothic is going to be about, I think. And hey, from a channel point of view, this is a low, just even from a hobby Ben point of view, I can find somebody to paint up 4 mechs for me, and I can paint up 4 mechs, and then we can play them on the channel, and I get the fun of playing a game with a friend, completing a project with some friends, sharing the game with you guys, playing with my cameras. This is just peak. So this is why it's number 1 for me, is because it has got to be one of the biggest game franchises out there, and this is a low stakes entry point to get into the world of Battletech by jumping into a slightly different world of Battletech with extra spikes and monsters. Hey, I love it. So these are 5 of the games that are coming out the rest of this year that I am very excited for, and I would love to hear what I've missed, what other games are going on, what other things you're excited for. I tailored this list to be about new versions of games and new games that are coming out, not expansions, which is why like Cathay isn't on here, because obviously that's mad, and I'm very excited for that. But yes, this is the new stuff where, I don't know, I thought maybe there's some of you out there that's looking for a new hobby project or a new game to play, or just to chase that dream of the Christmas morning test like I am. Anyway, let me know what I've missed, and we'll be back soon with more wargaming content. Happy blocking.